Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Place Podcast. Today, we have Jaslyin from Singapore, who runs her own marketing company called Mad About Marketing. Let's dive deep into what is the impact of AI in marketing. And predominantly, this podcast I'm hoping will be useful for people who are beginning their careers in marketing and people who are building portfolio careers because there needs to be a lot of marketing to be done before we jump in and create our own identity in this whole global workspace. So, Jocelyn, before we begin, plus your journey from your starting point to where you are today, how did the idea about Mad About Marketing come about?
Sure. I mean, towards the tail end of my corporate career, which was in Citibank, actually, that's 2023, and then that's where AI actually started.
Correct.
And then we were actually experimenting how to use AI already then in terms of marketing. So we were experimenting with our agencies, creative agency, and then we kind of like decided that maybe at that it should be more of a visualization, like storyboarding tool for us because we just couldn't get past our global legal team,
Correct.
So that actually, when I finish up my journey, kind of like give me the courage to kind of step out as well, but to form my own practice, which I was
Mhm.
toying with the idea for the last 2 years. But then 2 years ago, on hindsight, we don't have as many tools that we can basically just pick up ourselves and use and create things on our own. We needed
Correct.
to still to rely on the typical agencies to do it for us. But then
Correct.
2 years later, with AI and everything, I actually can create a lot of things myself just to get started. So I think that really helped me as a marketing leader, um, and as a fractional small boutique agency, just to get off the ground. Yeah, like low
Excellent.
code, no code websites. That's one. Creating our own logos. That's the other
Correct.
one. Yeah.
Correct. 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 So, Jocelyn, tell me, I mean, with the interest of keeping the conversations a little short so that it can reach more
Mm.
people, I want to jump right into the topic. So, with the advent of AI, today I know a lot of fractionals who are in sales and marketing, and predominantly any community I'm part of, 95% GTM marketing sales professionals, right? Is it more easier to learn marketing than any other subject?
Well, I guess you can say everybody should be able to sell and market, so we don't need to go to school anymore, right?
Correct.
I think it's easy to pick up the technical knowledge associated with marketing, just like any
Mhm,
other technical knowledge and know-how. That's what I believe, you know.
mhm,
But technicalities aside, in terms of the softer skills, the softer aspects of marketing, like understanding the fundamentals, I call it like, for example, without being too theoretical, what
mhm,
marketing means in principle, our 7 principles of marketing
mhm.
from your channel, your strategy, your thinking, the data, the understanding the customer perspective. I think that one takes both learning as well as hands-on experience.
Mhm.
It's not something that we can just figure out over a 2 hour course or like a 2 months course. That's what
Correct.
I believe.
Correct.
So
Correct.
yeah, so I think the same goes for sales. Honestly, it's an acquired skill. It is combination of both softer aspects of it, understanding, active listening, selling without selling or hard
Yeah,
selling, versus the technicalities of it. So that's what I believe. So I don't think
that's
anybody can just do marketing.
I know, but
If
I
I
want
can
to
be
get to a
brutally
different.
honest.
Correct. I'm with you on that. So, but I'll go a little more deeper because we'll have our audience who are, beginning portfolio careers who have done something on their own, like me, who have been
Mm,
a career professional and a lot of other people. I know I'm speaking to three, four people this week, and everybody comes from different background. For a baseline understanding, what is the difference between sales and marketing?
So marketing enables sales.
Okay.
Marketing and sales, to me, they are like partners in crime. They actually need to be the best of buddies. But
Okay.
in actual fact, where I came from until today, that's not what I'm seeing. Unfortunately, marketing don't always align with sales in terms of the KPIs.
Mhm.
I know sales look at the hard numbers, the revenue, the actual revenue that they're able to generate. Marketing look at how they're able to create those channels so that they can
Okay.
create that pipeline for sales. So that's why marketing and sales need to be the best of friends.
So the best examples I take are my examples rather than generic examples because I want people to relate to these conversations where I have come from. Can I say marketing is like me doing this podcast, putting them
Mm,
online, pushing it across so that people know who am I, who am I talking to, and what is the value with the conversations I'm getting. And sales is something I use this podcast as a tool in my approach to product strategy where I sell myself or my services. I say, look at my podcast and the kind of people I talk to. This is the
mm,
work I do, and I
mm-hmm,
learn from people. And this is the knowledge I impart. I am like your hard disk who has all the
mm,
data. It is up to you how you
mm-hmm,
download and use the data. Am I understanding it correct? Marketing is a channel to put myself outside, and
mm-hmm.
sales is finding the right people to connect to, right? If we post it on YouTube or Spotify or anything, anybody might be listening. We don't know who's listening, but and all of them might not be my potential customers, right? Even for you, right? It might not. So identifying them, did I get the definition correct?
Correct. And of course, the other element I want to add is sales will have a very technical, a specific topic they want to talk about.
Correct.
But marketing will help you to position it better so that you are
Correct.
less direct and pushy.
Correct. Correct. Sales is where I come and tell you. So, for example, let's say you found me on a group.
Mm,
Hey, Hari is doing something in product strategy. Let me talk to him. Then, when Hari comes to you, you'll say, Hari, these are the services I offer, and I want you to build me a product, right? Using these offerings and combine it and package it for me, and also tell me what I should do to
mm,
go and execute this. Am I getting it right now? Perfect. Perfect. So I have another question. So every day when you open social media, right, everybody has tips and hacks for using ChatGPT or Claude or anything for building your sales pipeline or something. Do this with ChatGPT, you will find 100 customers. So actually, I'm testing that idea out. I started talking to ChatGPT in terms of
mm,
so ChatGPT now knows what I do. I don't ask any
mm,
personal
mm, mm,
question. I don't use ChatGPT as a Google search. My Google is different, ChatGPT is different. So that when I
mhm,
interact with ChatGPT, it knows what I do from my Studio Navaka offering and Haplo offering. So it becomes very easy for me to ask a question, right? Hey, I'm talking to this client, give me this, whatever it is. Now,
mm,
I realized ChatGPT now I can go and say, hey, you know my offering, create my ideal customer profile, right?
mm,
And based on this, give me 10 people you think are the best I should reach out, right?
mm.
Now, when I do that, because I'm novice, I will put myself as a novice when compared to all you people in sales and marketing. Is my approach correct? What, as an individual, who is selling my services should
Mhm.
focus first key on.
I think really if you know your own unique value proposition, like whatever
Mm-hmm,
that you're doing, how are you doing it better
mm-hmm,
fundamentally? How are you doing it better and how are you doing it differently from your competitors or your peers
mm-hmm,
offering the same service, targeting the same industry, the same clients? And then
mm-hmm,
also fundamentally, what is the pain point? Like, do you know the pain points that your customers are facing that you are actually able to address with your value proposition? And
correct.
then use that in your favor, outline that proposition, and then you can ask ChatGPT or Claude or whoever to help you to tighten it, maybe like help you to position it better, and then feed in the customer segments to see, am I on the right track if I'm targeting these segments, or do you see new pockets of segments that I'm not seeing? I think
Mm-hmm,
there's nothing wrong with asking AI
correct.
that question.
Correct.
They can help, but fundamentally, I think you need to know what you stand for first, like what
Mm-hmm.
you really are selling first. You cannot let us AI to help you define that. what you should be selling.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is where predominantly most of us get stuck, right? Nowadays, we see a lot more portfolio careers emerging, right? Especially at experience timeline of you and me, for example, 20 years, a
Yeah.
sweet spot where we have lived our life in a certain way, but most of the things we don't know how to reach out, right?
Mm.
What is it you would suggest or recommend for people like me to focus on before I become a portfolio career agent or a fractional or whatever term we want to use?
Mm.
What is it I should seriously consider as the first step to becoming a fractional?
Besides defining your own proposition, your
Mhm,
own methodologies of doing things, delivering your service, right? Because you have the value prop, you know what you're going to sell. How are you selling it differently? How are you solving that problem for the customer
mhm,
differently? I think that kind of methodology builds on your experience that
mhm,
nobody can take away from you. It is your unique intellectual property, if you want to put it that way. Because that's
mhm,
how I built mine as a marketing consultancy.
mhm,
Along over 20 years, I've gathered enough evidence, learnings, as well as experience. And I've come up with my own frameworks of how I can advise clients on marketing.
mhm,
What
mhm,
kind of channels, tactics, why would it work? Why would this
mhm,
combination of budget versus channel, why this strategy will work and why would it not work on other clients, for example? So that's a methodology that I have put in place on my own, which
mhm,
then I bounced off AI as well, just to
mhm,
validate and test out the methodology. And then I do get affirmation. AI would
mhm.
say, oh, that's a good methodology, but I would just add this part and
Correct.
kind of like be a sparring partner. So then, but then you need to know, you need to be able to have that concrete methodology in your mind or somewhere
Mhm,
first to start. So that's one. Then the other one is on your networks, building your network, building a
mhm,
supportive network and a community alongside your personal branding,
mhm,
which I talk a lot about recently in the Asia Business Show. How you should
mhm,
be scaling your own personal branding beyond just your corporate branding. Because many
mhm,
a times we fall into the same pitfall that we are representing our company.
mhm,
Whatever we say is always headlined by our company first and then us secondary, right? And then we're
mhm.
known more for our job titles than anything else that we
Mhm.
actually have an expertise on. And that is the fundamental problem that I've noticed a lot of people who later got retrenched or they decide to take a step back and then they realize that they have to start from scratch from a branding perspective because they are not known. Like you
Correct.
might be very famous in your organization. If you've been there for 20 years, everybody knows you. But
Correct.
outside of that, nobody knows and nobody cares because you
For
have not
example,
been out there.
you
Yeah.
didn't know me. I mean, I've been part of groups, but you didn't know me until like 6 months ago, right? And that too, just to 1, 2 conversations. What is it I need to do to build that kind of visibility for myself, Jocelyn? People tell write on LinkedIn and things like that, but one thing I have noticed very clearly, I can tell you,
Mm,
LinkedIn works only in certain areas. For example, my
mm,
company is registered in Australia. I did that for a
yeah.
reason because Asia Pacific will be more easier, and I'm also registered in India. That's a different story. But what I realized is, I mean, Erin Mayer's culture map, right? Australia predominantly works on LinkedIn messaging. Somebody I message on WhatsApp and message on LinkedIn, I will get a response
Mm,
faster on LinkedIn than WhatsApp. But culturally, if you come to India, it will be more WhatsApp faster than LinkedIn. If you go to
mm,
America, not everybody is active on LinkedIn, right? Whom I want to reach out and things like that. What is your suggestion for people like me? How should we build our brand? Or how should we put ourselves there so the world knows? So, certain things
mm,
I do, I'm part of various fractional groups and portfolio
yeah.
careers groups.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
ensure I attend the 5, 6 hours in the month is my
Mm,
investment towards
mm,
knowing people. So about 6 months ago, I wrote a post on fractionals and I tagged everybody whom I knew from
yeah.
across the world, from Japan to Argentina. I covered all
Mm,
regions, right?
mm,
So that is one way I did that. But it
mm.
did it give me a mileage? That's a different story. Will come only later. The results are not immediate. For a person like me who's wanting to build, apart from my first level network, are there any secrets, tips, and tricks which I can use to brand myself?
I mean, I don't know how many communities you're part of, but I really do make sure that I'm joining multiple different communities specific to my industry,
Correct.
my client's industry, my technical expertise, as well as my gender. In that case, I think for women, we have a little bit of an upper edge in that sense because there are a lot of women community groups, right? But and also like as an entrepreneur, I join entrepreneur groups as well,
Correct.
be on a local and regional level. So that's one to start really networking, so that I'm
Mhm.
not just networking within a close circle and then you just keep meeting the same people. Because it's quite easy to size out whether those groups
Correct.
are worth your while after some time. You
Mhm.
spend 1 or 2 times there and then you hop on and move to different groups. I literally join Chamber of Commerce's business associations. That's one. I take advantage of whatever networking events are there and just go there, show up. And then digitally showing up to me is very important. I know LinkedIn is quite hit and miss nowadays. Sometimes it's the algorithm. But it takes time, but I think it is worth it. But you have to be very consistent in terms of putting your voice out there. And you need to have an actual perspective beyond just, for example, resharing someone's post, liking someone's post, commenting on somebody's post, but really making an effort to put your statements out there that might be different. It might not be in line with a lot of 90% of what people are saying, but that's okay if you're prepared to back whatever opinions that you have. But what's more important is to actually have a solid opinion that relates directly to one, your personal and professional values. Secondly, what you're actually offering and selling, but in a very storytelling manner. Beyond other things like sharing about your personal life, to me, that's a different perspective altogether.
Correct.
I leave
Even
it
I'm
to the
not.
individual.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Personally,
Even
I
me
don't,
too.
I'm not comfortable and I don't think people
Correct.
care at the end of
Correct.
the day. To each your own.
You're right.
Or like I walk on the street, I fell down and I learned a lesson. Personally, I don't like these. It's just too much. You fell down, that
Correct.
means you were clumsy. Sorry. There's no other
True.
lesson.
True.
It's just towing the line, keeping a balance so that you're not too noisy and annoying for the sake of being visible, but you're providing something tangible and solid as lessons for your target audience. Because you will never know who will pick up, who will notice. And that's kind of how I have had 2 clients found me on LinkedIn organically without doing any
Excellent.
hard selling because of the content and my perspectives and what I stand for. Yeah.
I get a decent organic connects, but I know it's a podcast and publicly it'll go, but still, predominantly, whoever reach out to me, they say we are either bootstrapped or we are small funded. Can you do work for equity? And I really can't because I can do one or two, which is like very, I like the idea or something like that. But for everybody, I can't be doing equity because I need to survive, right? It's
Yeah.
very difficult to break that chain when people reach out. This is one part to it. How do I reach out to a global audience? Probably somewhere in some part of the world, somewhere, somebody might need my kind of services. In India, as you know, one biggest thing is we operate in a very different way. I know how it needs to be done, kind of an approach. And because there are too many people, it becomes difficult for an entrepreneur to find the quality person who will actually commit to you and work and things like that. If I look at a global perspective, in today's connected world, is it only LinkedIn or Substack which can take me there? Or are there any other tips and tricks you have which you can share with us, which can help us, expand our net, I would say?
So as an entrepreneur, I do events sponsorship, very targeted one.
Okay.
I do that. That's how it brought me to the Middle East as well. And I get invited to speak. And then, of course, when I get invited to speak, they'll ask me if I want to maybe sponsor a little expo booth, and then if I think that it's worth it and the audience is the delegates are who I want to meet, I will do that. it's part of investing in my own company.
Correct.
I have to
Correct.
practice what I preach, which is
Correct.
helping clients with marketing and sales. So I
Correct.
have to pay for marketing myself, market
Correct.
my own company that way. So then when I go to these forums, I get to meet people from all around the world. I was at the FinNext conference earlier this year, and there were delegates from all over, from North Africa, from the Middle East, from Europe, and that's how we all get connected. And then, of course, they all end up still wanting to exchange LinkedIn connections. But on top of that, I have their numbers, I have their WhatsApp, I have their emails, and we can keep the conversation going from there. I add them to my mailing list. We maintain a mailing, like a
Correct.
bulletin. And then one or two of them actually do come back and say, hey, actually, we now have this need. But you don't expect that from the get-go. You just add
Correct.
them to it. They're just reading. You can track whether they are monitoring your content. And then they do come back when the opportunity is right, when the timing is right for them to explore something with you, and they do. So that's my experience. But you have
Perfect.
to be ready to make that investment.
True. On a scale of 1 to 10, Jaslyin, how much can I trust the suggestions what the reasoning models give us? For example, I'll ask my target market is Singapore. For example, it'll give me some ways to do it. How much can I trust the suggestions from these reasoning models to take that approach? Because yes, everything is money, but time is more expensive than money, right? The moment gone will never come back, right? So how much can I trust these reasoning models that it's telling me the right way? Because I want to enter Singapore. I don't know Jaslyin, so I can't reach out to her and ask, hey, I'm trying to enter Singapore. Do you have any suggestions? I can't reach out to her. So I will go back and ask one of the reasoning guys saying, I'm wanting to enter Singapore market. Can you tell me what needs to be done? It'll suggest me something. How much are those trustworthy on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say like 6 or 7,
Oh,
honestly.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I was giving
Because
it more of
it is
one or two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're so cynical. I think it gets smarter and smarter and more accurate as people contribute more
Okay.
into the data source. So it's getting better with more people using it and adding to the accuracy. I think
Okay.
that's what makes the difference.
6 or 7, that's not bad. That's not actually
Yeah.
bad. I was
Yeah.
at 1 or 2 because, Jaslyin, for me, that is theoretical knowledge. Now, if I have to translate that theoretical knowledge into a real world marketing strategy, right? I need expertise. And that's what I'm not, right? People like you are. I'm not, right? As you don't know my side of the coin, I don't know your side of the coin, right? So that's where I was putting it at 1 or 2, nothing more than that, because I feel theoretical knowledge, until you practically implement it, will not give you the edge until I tested and tried, right? And I can't ask, if you ask any of the reasoning models, tell me how many people have used your methodology, and tell me, it'll give you some vague answer, right? It'll not tell me 100 people searched this and 90 people found it successful. It'll not tell me. So this is what I call the dark side of AI, right? We all are jumping on the bandwagon, but we are not getting the results what we intend to result. Probably 10 years later, this question might be outdated. I might come to a 5 still. I will not still be at a 6 or 7, because end of the day, implementing what I am seeing on the screen is very, very difficult and very, very different than just blindly following it up.
For sure. I think the missing 3 or 4 to round it up to a perfect 10 is the experience part. The knowledge that you have to be able to tell the difference of whether it will exactly work as it outlined, what are some of the gaps still, and also what is actually good, what actually looks good. I think the problem is not everybody knows what is good.
Correct.
They know what is acceptable based on that.
And also, many people don't know how to ask a question. What is the right question? I mean, asking a question is also an art, right? Yeah. I can't ask right questions for some time. I go off in a very different tangent when I'm talking. But I have an opening scene for either of my product strategy offerings or my
Mm.
product offerings, I have an opening act and I feel it's working, but I have to sharpen it. I think over the years, I will sharpen that skill of asking the question. But I think asking the question is more important rather than the right answer, right?
Asking the right question.
I think ChatGPT has more of nays from me than yeses because the question I ask and the answer it gives me are totally in a different tangent altogether. And I'll ask it to do something, it'll do opposite, but the other model will exactly understand. For example, Claude understands what I'm saying and it'll give me exactly what I'm looking for. Few things
Mm.
really impress me with Claude. I mean, I know algorithmically both are different models, but
Mm.
I took some screenshots too. There are times when ChatGPT is giving up on me and said, "I'm thinking." And you use the five model, it is thinking. One day I asked a question and it thought for 5 minutes and 50 seconds or something, and finally it said, "I'll have to come back to you."
Mm, mm, mm.
I don't know if I'm more intelligent asking the right kind of question, or it is so dumb that it doesn't understand what I'm trying to say.
I think that means nobody has really asked that
That
question
question,
that way
correct,
before as well.
correct,
So you're
correct.
challenging the AI, which is great. Which is what we need to do more of,
Correct,
honestly. We
correct.
need more of such questions.
So these days, I think recently Sam Altman said they are opening an office in India because India is the
Mm.
largest market for ChatGPT. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know, they have a very different model for India now. I mean, $20 I can pay and I can have it, but they have a $5 model also to attract all the
Wow.
students and non-tech people to start paying.
Mm.
Right, 5 or 10 bucks
Mm.
model. I think 6.99, 5.99 something. And most of the people I know are asking, what are my interview questions? What are the questions in this exam? Those kind of things, rather than actually asking meaningful something to learn, we want answers. So that's a different model altogether. Just coming back, if today I am a graduate, I'm joining an MBA, I want to pick up marketing. Okay. What are the areas of your field, which is marketing, I should focus on learning more or focus on understanding and grasping more, which will help me set my career for the next 10 years?
Firstly, I wouldn't advise a graduate just go and do an MBA.
But I mean, many people, if you don't get a job, they join an
It's
MBA
like,
to,
yeah, stop
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Go
yeah.
and work first, please. I mean, jokes aside, right? I think learn about the softer aspects of it. Learn the importance of communications, stakeholder
Okay.
communications,
Mm-hmm.
crisis communications. Crisis comms will be a big thing, especially when people start using more of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Ethics. What do you mean by ethics in marketing? What are some of the boundaries that we need to know and be mindful of when you're using AI that will affect your employees, your organization, and your customers? I think this
Mm-hmm.
is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And then empathy, because AI doesn't know empathy right
Empathy.
now.
Correct.
You can actually train it to pretend like it knows, but it
Mm-hmm.
actually doesn't, right? Because it's not sentient yet. But you need to have that thinking in you and that understanding what it means in order to derive the best outcomes for your customers, especially when you're producing outputs, you're producing assets, you're producing outcomes, strategy. You need empathy at the core of it so that you understand and you're really addressing the customer's pain point. And then communications is very important because you need to know how to navigate communications between all the different stakeholders. Increasingly, marketers need to work with tech. They might already own the data, but if not, then they need to work with the data team. They need to work with product and sales. So you need very good communication and management skills that way because you are that connector between the customer and the rest of your stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of interpersonal skills. It's a combination of learning and then applied learning.
Mm-hmm.
To me, these are actually more important than the technicalities of it. Technical skills,
Perfect.
sure. But while you're learning the technical skills of how to use certain tools, how AI is embedded into all the different marketing channels. For example, you need to know how Google Ads is working and incorporating
Correct.
AI.
Yeah.
Right? You need to know what are the limitations. If you cannot just leave everything for Google to run this algorithm because it will always prioritize themselves. then you'll just be like you'll just be maxing out on your ad spend, and you might not even hit the ROI that you think is actually good for your company, your budget versus what Google wants you to spend on. So it's really understanding the fundamentals of how AI is embedded as well. What is it doing to do, and how is it doing it to address the outcomes? I think that part is important. Yeah, beyond just learning using the AI itself.
Correct. Correct. I'll flip the experience now. There are many portfolio careers opening up. The world is becoming more fractional, right? Earlier, we just used to go to Fiverr or something and search for somebody and figure out who got ratings, and we just give the work, logo design or something like that. But fractionals or portfolio career personnel are not on Fivers and things like that. So we have to build ourselves. If I want to become a fractional, what is it I need to understand fundamentally about marketing before I become? So it's very easy to open a website, right? I have my website, but who will come there? How are people coming there? How am I reaching people? So, for experienced people who are beginning their own company or starting up on their own, or becoming a fractional CXO, what are the important concepts we need to cover in understanding sales and marketing before we embark on the journey?
I'm going back to the fundamentals of brand as well as value proposition and what that actually means. How do you articulate that? How do you tease that out for clients that you want to work with? Because you're helping them to set the right foundation from the get-go. Because if you don't have a good value proposition, even if your marketing is fantastic, which is the channels, the tactics, you might do good for a while, but ultimately you will not be able to sustain the business. So fundamentally, it's very important to know this fact, the importance of a good value proposition, and what does that mean, which is solving the why, the how, the what. Yeah, I call it the golden circle framework of marketing, which I think unfortunately a lot of marketeers have kind of like forgot about, or they don't care, because ultimately we need to go beyond flashy campaigns, right? Not just putting things out there, putting bus ads or taxi ads and call it good. But you have to be convinced yourself, that what you're putting out there actually is addressing the problem for the customer. Yeah, so I think that's the fundamental of how fractional people trying to do the marketing themselves. So understanding firstly your own value prop, positioning it well, and then helping that to turn that around and help your clients to do the same. So that to me is fundamental.
Perfect. Jaslyin, in your perspective, how do you think all these modeling agents or reasoning agents will change the way business is done in the next decade or so?
Yeah, I think it depends on the questions increasingly being asked. Because whenever we ask questions of the age, like the AI agents, we are training them. Right, we're adding to the training knowledge that they will gather. If we increasingly become very lazy and we just start straight asking questions that give us direct answers, like what you mentioned in the student's case, then it will become more and more dull and dense. Actually, the knowledge base wouldn't be very, it wouldn't evolve. We need the knowledge base to evolve with us by asking smarter questions, better questions, to prompt them to think, train them to think. And it's really on us, right? But of course, increasingly, these tech engineers that are behind all these platforms like Claude and ChatGPT, they are helping to train on a daily basis. But unfortunately, not all of these engineers have real life scenarios, right? But they're just like hiding behind the keyboard, like imagining scenarios, but they don't have the real world examples. So they need people like us to actually help train the AI models to evolve and produce more and more accurate reasoning. That's what I'm seeing.
But unfortunately, asking the right questions, ChatGPT or Claude or anybody will not pay us any money. So end of the day, we have to earn bread and butter. If we go back to 2000s, we didn't have Google. So marketing people had their connects, friend of friends. So for example, somebody is looking for a marketing person. Jaslyin from some university I studied. We both met there. So I send her an email or I send her a caller and tell, hey, this company is looking. So she will go and meet them. And in reverse, she knows somebody in India who's wanting to do something, and she will call and say, Hari, you know what? This person reached out. Why don't you go? With the advent of Google, it became more easier for me to search, right?
Mm.
Now, with the advent of these reasoning agents coming to picture, how do you think it's going to change? Or will there be any change, first of all, from Google days to the, reasoning agents days? If there are going to be changes, what kind of changes can we expect in the field of
Mm. I think such will evolve for sure. It will
correct?
change. I'm just waiting for the day that Gemini integrates with Google search. I don't know why it's so hard.
Every now,
Right? Yeah.
right? Until unless you pay the $20. The moment you
Mm.
pay the $20, you will give it up in 10 minutes because
Mm.
what it's asking you to do, it'll not understand, it'll do the design part. So I feel
Mm.
all these AI companies are just taking a ride to make money right now, but they're not
Mm.
matured to get any jobs done. Now, when I talk about this,
Mm.
people say, do you really know? I mean, like, okay, well, let it be there. So I'm not arguing with people like that. But I personally feel all these AI models which are coming are just making money out of nothing more than that. And people who say we have, I mean, why in fact for Haplo also we started adding AI because we want people to capture us and say, hey, these guys are doing with AI, let me talk to them. Otherwise, I'm not losing the interest of the other side. But practically speaking, it is really not at the place where it will help me enhance anything. I feel it is just automating my stuff right now. Hence, my question came, how do you see it evolving over the next decade or so for people like us to, embrace it and for young professionals who are starting their careers to start molding themselves into it? Yes, everybody has adopted AI, but specifically, do you see any areas? Hari, this is one thing probably reasoning agents will take over from what we are doing traditionally today. Is there any area like
I think we probably will see a merger, a sunsetting of a lot of the smaller agents, all the wannabes, I call
that?
them, once
Hmm.
they've maxed out on consumer spending, whatever is possible. Because it's getting cheaper already, right, as we speak.
Correct.
Yeah. Then the big boys, the big few tech boys, I think probably one or two will emerge as the preferred. And then the others, they might pivot and do something else.
Correct.
They have to each find their own specialty right now. That's why I think search will be one of it that will evolve because I don't foresee many people just using different ways to search. It's just too many apps.
Correct. Correct.
It will sunset itself. It will change itself, but there will
Correct.
be changes. But it doesn't take away the fact that we still want to connect with an actual person.
Mhm.
For people networking, building relationship, I think that will never change. It's just different, right?
Correct.
Like having that conversation, even if we're doing this podcast, we're connecting. You can't
Correct.
take that away. Yeah, I
Correct.
don't foresee anything taking that away from everybody wanting to do that, have that kind of connection. Yeah, so
What do
not
you
losing that sense is important.
What do you say about people trying to instill the fear? See, one of the things, I mean, it's all marketing for me, but the companies say, oh, AI has come, the developer jobs have gone, AI has come, the sales guys are gone, AI has come, marketing is gone. Do you agree with these statements? From a technology background, I don't agree to these statements. These are all statements just to create the fear, to encapsulate or capture. I'm very vocal. I can give you a name. The one guy who I really feel doesn't make sense when he's talking is Arvind Srinivas, Perplexity. I don't feel him making, I still feel he's a kid who's just got, I mean, his hard work is there where he got Perplexity to a great level, but I still feel he leaves words without thinking. There are not a lot of things. Companies are not firing people because of AI.
Mm,
I
yeah,
don't believe in it at all.
yeah,
I don't believe.
not at all.
Because
Yeah.
earlier Google also was searching. You search for write me a program or write me an
Mm,
algorithm for this problem. Google would give me the result, right? And I have to modify it. So nothing has changed. I mean, these are the statements which I feel are misleading because people get attracted to those kind of statements. And that's my
mm,
effort through this podcast series, as I mentioned before,
mm,
to bring out the truth and talk to professionals like you to educate people. Look, nothing is changing. Focus on your work, learn your subject, build your empathy, build your relationships, build your skills. Yes, definitely adopt AI, but learn from it, but don't bank on it. So that's the objective of these series of conversations, what I want to do in each field, so that it benefits at least one person who's like, who's not looking at a lot of things and is worrying, hey, what's going to be my life tomorrow? Nothing is going to change. Everything is going to be the same. So, what is your take on companies or people who have been talking about AI is going to take away this, AI is going to take away that? What's your take on that? Do you believe? Do you don't believe? Or is there a partial understanding what we need to have?
I think you're spot on, right? About a lot of these AI founders being just focused on the tech, fear mongering, whatever catches media attention. That's because they lack the critical softer skills that we're talking about. The empathy, the communication is just terrible. So responsible AI adoption to me is a very serious thing, and I totally advocate that. I was just speaking to a CEO the other day and asking about his views on AI, and then he said, "I don't see the ROI at the moment. That's what I'm seeing.
Good.
AI projects are just failing."
Good.
And I don't want to adopt AI for the sake of adopting AI, because whoever so and so tells me, I need to see the ROI, and I'm not seeing the ROI. If things are good and well the way it is, why do I just want to throw in AI for the sake of it? Because it takes effort, it takes time, resources, everything. So I totally align with you. I think people need to speak responsibly. Roles will evolve. There'll be more new roles created, that's for sure. But business roles, business functions like ours, they will still exist. We still need people to sell, like actual people to sell, actual people to market, people who actually appreciate. But you might see downsizing of, like, streamlining of roles. For example, like as a marketing manager, probably we will need to be able to know and be a bit hands-on with some of the AI technology. You need to know how to use some of these. So you might get less and less resources to do the actual execution, because your CEO might expect you to be able to do it in some way.
Got it.
But then, of course, a lot of it depends on how good the tool is and how accurate it is ultimately. So that's why I see a sunsetting of the smaller tools out there that are actually not making the cut. And then we might see a stalemate at some point, and then start having a reversal where people start thinking, oh, actually, we need to bring those roles back. Actually, we were wrong, like we were wrong to just let AI do everything. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Get it. Excellent. Jaslyin, thank you so much for your time this morning. I promised a 45-minute conversation, but I know I overshot by about, I get excited when, topics are interesting. So my previous podcasts are like runs into at least 1.5, 2 hours, because one thing for me is very difficult to catch people. And second, I think I've got better in asking the right questions rather than keeping it as an extempore conversation. I wanted to focus only on two things: the freshers who are coming out and people like us who want to become fractionals. What do we need to focus on for the next 10 years? The middle guys will realize what they want. They'll follow the guys behind or the guys ahead. Jaslyin, thank you so much for your time, and it was great having you on the show, and look forward to meeting you in person sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Harry. I really enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.